In the spring of 1994, Rwanda, a small nation in Central Africa, witnessed one of the most horrifying atrocities of the late 20th century, the Rwandan Genocide. Over the course of just 100 days, from April to July 1994, an estimated 800,000 to 1 million people, primarily ethnic Tutsi, along with moderate Hutu and others opposed to extremist ideology, were slaughtered. The genocide was not a spontaneous outburst of violence, but a carefully orchestrated campaign rooted in colonial history, ethnic manipulation, political power struggles, and international indifference. The Rwandan genocide remains a defining case study of how propaganda, hate ideology, and state machinery can mobilize ordinary citizens into mass participation in atrocities. This documentary explores the historical roots, events, key actors, international response, aftermath, and lessons of the genocide. Rwanda was home to three main groups: the Hutu, about 85% of the population, the Tutsi 14%, and the Twa 1%. Contrary to later interpretations, these groups were not rigid tribes. They shared language, culture, and often intermarried. Social identity was fluid, wealthy. Hutu could become Tutsi through social mobility, a practice known as kwihutura, while Tutsi who lost cattle could be considered Hutu. The arrival of European colonial powers, first Germany, late 19th century, and later Belgium after World War I, transformed fluid social categories into rigid ethnic divisions. Influenced by pseudo-scientific racial theories, the Belgians considered Tutsi superior due to their physical features and pastoralist lifestyle. They privileged Tutsi with education, political power, and administrative posts, marginalizing the Hutu majority. In 1933, the Belgian administration introduced mandatory identity cards labeling each Rwandan as Hutu, Tutsi, or Twa. This bureaucratic codification entrenched divisions that would later fuel genocide. By the 1950s, resentment grew among Hutu elites, excluded from power. The 1959 Hutu Revolution led to mass violence against Tutsi, killing thousands and forcing around 200,000 into exile in neighboring countries: Uganda, Burundi, Tanzania, Zaire. From independence through the 1980s, periodic anti-Tutsi pogroms reinforced hostility while exiled Tutsi populations, especially in Uganda, longed for return. These tensions laid the groundwork for conflict. The Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, in 1987, exiled Tutsi in Uganda, formed the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, a rebel movement seeking to reclaim their right to return. In October 1990, the RPF launched an invasion of northern Rwanda, sparking a civil war. The government, led by President Juvénal Habyarimana, responded with military force, but the conflict intensified divisions. Tutsi civilians inside Rwanda were increasingly scapegoated, accused of collaborating with the RPF. Rising ethnic propaganda during the early 1990s hardline Hutu elites, known as the Akazu Little House, began spreading extremist propaganda through newspapers and especially the infamous Radio Television Libre des Mille Collines, RTLM. They painted Tutsi as cockroaches in Yenzi, dehumanizing them. Militia groups such as the Interahamwe, those who fight together, were trained and armed, preparing for large-scale violence. The Arusha Accords in 1993, peace talks mediated in Arusha, Tanzania, resulted in the Arusha Accords, which promised a power-sharing government including the RPF. While seen as a step toward peace, Hutu extremists viewed the accords as a betrayal and prepared instead for final solutions. On the evening of April 6, 1994, President Habyarimana's plane was shot down near Kigali Airport, killing him and Burundi's President Cyprien Ntaryamira. The identity of the perpetrators remains disputed. Some blame the RPF, others point to Hutu extremists who opposed peace. Within hours, roadblocks appeared across Kigali. The Presidential Guard, army units, and militias launched targeted assassinations of moderate politicians and human rights activists, including Prime Minister Agathe Uwizeyimana. The killing escalated rapidly into mass slaughter. The genocide unfolded with terrifying efficiency. Targets: Tutsi civilians, moderate Hutu politicians, journalists, and human rights advocates. Methods: machetes, clubs, rifles, grenades, and mass executions at churches and schools where people sought refuge. Participation: ordinary citizens, encouraged and often coerced by militias, participated in killings. Lists of Tutsi households were distributed. Entire communities were wiped out. Families were separated. Women were subjected to mass rape, often deliberately infected with HIV. Notable massacres: Kigali, Tutsi were hunted door to door. Nairobi, thousands killed in a Catholic church. Murambi Technical School, over 40,000 Tutsi massacred after being lured into safe haven. The RTLM radio broadcast instructions were demanding Hutus to identify Tutsi hiding places and urging extermination. Music and jokes mocked victims, making killing seem communal and inevitable. A small United Nations assistance mission for Rwanda, UNAMIR, led by Canadian General Romeo Dallaire, was deployed to monitor the peace process. Dallaire repeatedly warned the UN of imminent mass killings, but his requests for reinforcements were denied. After 10 Belgian peacekeepers were killed, Belgium withdrew its forces, and the UN Security Council reduced troop numbers from 2,500 to about 270 at the height of the killings. Western powers, the United States, scarred by its failed intervention in Somalia, 1993, avoided involvement. The Clinton administration avoided using the term genocide to escape obligations under international law. France, an ally of Habyarimana, conducted Operation Turquoise, establishing a safe zone, but critics argue it protected perpetrators more than victims. The global failure. By the time the world acknowledged genocide was underway, hundreds of thousands were already dead. The Rwandan genocide became a lasting symbol of international failure to prevent atrocities despite clear warnings. As the genocide raged, the RPF resumed its military offensive from Uganda. By July 1994, they captured Kigali, effectively ending the genocide. Approximately 2 million Hutu, including genocidaires, fled to Zaire, now Democratic Republic of Congo, and other neighboring countries, triggering a massive refugee crisis and future regional wars. After the killings, Rwanda faced unimaginable trauma, deaths, 800,000 to 1 million in 100 days, refugees, over 2 million, orphans, around 95,000 children left without parents, sexual violence, tens of thousands of women raped, many contracted HIV and AIDS. Traditional community courts were revived to try perpetrators, processing over 1.9 million cases by 2012. International Criminal Tribunal for Rwanda, ICTR, established by the UN in 1994, based in Arusha, Tanzania, convicted key leaders of genocide and crimes against humanity, including media leaders of RTLM. National trials. Thousands face justice within Rwanda's own judicial system. Reconciliation and recovery post-genocide Rwanda, under the leadership of Paul Kagame, head of the RPF and later president, embarked on nation-building and reconciliation efforts, abolishing ethnic identity cards, promoting national unity through institutions like the National Unity and Reconciliation Commission, emphasizing economic development, education, and gender equality. Rwanda today has one of the highest percentages of women in parliament worldwide. However, Kagame's rule has also faced criticism for authoritarianism and suppression of dissent. The Rwandan genocide remains a stark reminder of the destructive power of hate ideology, propaganda, and political manipulation. Key lessons include: 1. Early warning ignored. Despite clear signs, the international community failed to act. 2. Power of media. Propaganda played a central role in mobilizing violence. 3. Responsibility to protect. R2P. The genocide spurred global discourse on humanitarian intervention and the duty to prevent mass atrocities. 4. Resilience of survivors. Despite unimaginable trauma, Rwanda has rebuilt itself into one of Africa's fastest-growing economies. The Rwandan genocide of 1994 was not inevitable. It was the result of historical manipulation, extremist planning, and global neglect. In just 100 days, humanity witnessed the capacity of ordinary people, fueled by hate and fear, to commit extraordinary evil. Yet, in its aftermath, Rwanda has shown resilience, striving to transform its tragedy into a foundation for unity and progress. As the world reflects on Rwanda, The greatest responsibility is to ensure never again is not just a phrase, but a commitment to act decisively wherever and whenever human lives are threatened by genocide. If you found this story powerful, share it. Comment below with your thoughts or questions, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into global history, conflict, and resilience. Thanks for watching.